Again, thanks to everybody for joining us this morning. We're excited to be presenting another Alibi Security Live webinar series. We're coming up on Halloween weekend, and boy, we have a treat for you. No tricks from Alibi Security today, just a treat with Mr. Keith Becker. So we're super excited to be kind of revisiting our Alibi Cloud VS solution. As you guys may or may not know, we launched this solution just over a year ago. It's probably been about a year and 3 months. And as we've been managing the solution, especially as we have Keith Becker on here, who's been the architect and the ongoing manager of this specific solution, we've made some significant improvements. You launch a new solution and you're just cognizant that the thing works to begin with, it works the way you want it to, and then you start working on the roadmap features and functionality for that solution. So what we're going to dive into today with Keith as we talk about Alibi Cloud VS are some new features and functionality that really resulted a lot from our dealer feedback, right? As we've been working with partners who have been out there selling cloud, finding new applications, new situations to install cloud and off-prem video security into. There have been some requests and some added functionality that helps make our dealers' worlds easier as it relates to Alibi Cloud VS. So we are super, super excited to share with you guys some of this new functionality. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to my buddy, Keith.
Hey, Chris, thanks for that. For those that don't know me, my name is Keith Becker. I'm a senior product manager here at Alibi Security, primarily focusing on our cloud services offerings these days, as well as other software programs. Today, we're going to cover two things for you. One is our Alibi Cloud VS dealer dashboard. The second is a new Cloud VS web application. One is purely for you as a dealer. The other is actually market facing. It is a new way to access your Cloud VS account as a customer to kind of get you into a browser-based world, which has been heavily asked for. As we progress, we wanted to make sure we're not leaving people kind of behind whenever they want to stop using software. So first, we're going to cover the dealer dashboard.
Hey, Keith, real quick before you jump in. For Q&A, if anybody has questions along the way, again, Keith's going to cover a lot of information, especially with live demos to show you the new features and functionality. But if you have questions, use the Q&A feature down at the bottom of your webinar. We will try to hold a lot of those questions to the end because we do a pretty good job of answering them along the way. But I will help moderate at the end and make sure we get any additional questions answered at the end. Thanks.
No problem. So the dealer dashboard. So what is it? Essentially, this is a centralized web portal that's going to give you visibility to every one of your customer accounts. So as you grow your subscription base, obviously you want to be able to keep track of that. The dashboard is what is designed to give you that capability. So in that portal, you're going to be able to view all your customer subscription information. That way you can track and maximize all the RMR for the video subscription licenses you're offering. You have access to some reporting tools to look over the metrics and just general health status of your accounts. You can view all the health information for connected cameras. And then we also are opening up the ability for you to use our remote technical support portal. This is just a nice little easy way to get direct access to a customer's cloud account if they need assistance or if you need to help troubleshoot something without having to get their credentials. It's kind of a backdoor into the system, and I'll show you how that works once we get into the dashboard itself. So how it works is there's a website. It's cloudvsdashboard.alibisecurity.com. Once you get there, it's going to ask you for a login credential. Once you become a Cloud VS partner, we automatically set you up with a master dealer account. So if you're already selling it and you don't have your account credential, call your account manager. We will get those credentials out to you. If you are just signing up, we will set this up from the very first time that you get a subscription activated for a customer. We will turn on an account for you, and we will provide you with the username and password. It's pretty much that simple. So we hop in here. So once you get logged into the website, what you'll see here is a list of all of your customers. This account is a demo account, so only have one, but as you grow from the oldest to the newest, you're going to see a list start to tab down. This can scroll over. So as you get, hopefully dozens or hundreds of customers on this system, you'll be able to see each one here in unison. And it always goes from the oldest to the newest. So you can kind of know where you might have to look. When you click into an account, that's where you get to see all of your customers' info. So as I come in here, we'll see details. This is the actual user information for the customer. This will then allow me to see health information on cameras. So this system has one camera on it. It's got one camera offline. So if for some reason the customer says, hey, I think I have a camera down, you can come in, check their account. You can validate the cameras offline. You can then open up an additional information tab. This tab is going to actually tell you when it went offline. So I know that this camera went offline last night at 10:31. So you know exactly when you might need to start troubleshooting it. Maybe an event happened. So was there a power surge? Did something happen in the building? Was there a network switch failure that they might be able to trace it back to? It'll give you some information on the camera in terms of how we're connecting to it, the brand of the product, as well as the firmware build. If there's new firmware available, that way you can actually proactively possibly tell the customer that you need to do firmware updates. And then just the local and the global URLs. These are hyperlinks, but these will not actually take you to a camera directly. These are mainly for our developers' use. Cloud subscription information is visible. So when we talk about tracking your RMR, you can always come in here and check what subscription the customer has. We'll tell you the numbers of the days of recording, the actual video resolution, and then the number of channels. There will be an end date and a start date here. This is more for us just to track the system being online. So when you see the dates here, these are going to vary depending upon when the customer was turned on. So if you see dates that kind of populate from say the 3rd or the 4th up to the 15th or 20th, don't worry about that. That's just how we track the system from the day that we turn a customer on. Along that, you'll see if we're going to prolong the subscription, but you can always see kind of what your customers are up and using. Mobile subscriptions isn't being used right now. We are looking at some possibilities in the future to open up a 4G powered camera. So once we do that, there will be an additional cellular subscription for that 4G SIM card, and that'll be managed here as well. Sub-users are shown here. So we don't create sub-users for anybody in this system, but as the admin of this system starts to add users, we will show you all the sub-users tabbed out here. The reason that's important as well is whenever we set up credentials for Cloud VS, we do this via email logic. So even if you are just a sub-user, that email address can only be used one time. So if for some reason they're trying to set up an account and they get the message that user already exists, but they know that it doesn't exist on their system, you can come in and search and let them know, well, that's actually valid. And this will tell you what account that it's already assigned to. Lastly, on here, you're going to see the support tab. So there's two options in the support tab for you to use. One is remote support access. So you'll notice here, the gray bar is kind of grayed out here, and you'll notice that the customer has disabled support access. So inside the mobile application and now inside the web application, there is a turn on support access toggle button. The reason that is turned off by default is we want to make sure that the customer's privacy is kept intact. We don't want to have access to their video in any form or fashion unless they give us permission. So if you do need to get into a customer's account, you can tell them to turn that on. You can come to the dashboard, find their account. As soon as they turn that on, this button will become blue and you'll see an icon where you can actually click it and open it. This is going to download a Java JNLP file to your machine. Once you run that program, you're going to see a signature request saying, do you want to run this? It is signed by our partner, Eagle Eye Networks, because it is their support tool that they built for us. Once that opens up, it's essentially going to run a program emulator of the desktop client. You'll be logged in as the system admin, so you'll have full rights to see what's going on. You can check other credentials. You can also then make any setting changes that you might need on the customer's behalf. Once you are done and you close that desktop client out, that file will no longer open. It's a one-time use. Tell the customer to disable the help desk, and then this button becomes grayed out, and their account is nice and locked down and secured again, and you never had to change hands with credentials with the customer. So it's a nice, secure, easy way to provide some remote support. If for some reason the admin forgot their password, you can also come in here and you can do a reset password manually for them if they are not wanting to use the forgot password feature from the mobile app or the desktop client. As we get more feature capabilities in the web application, we will replace this with a web version so that there's no program you have to open and install. It'll just take you directly to a browser to get access. But for now, that's how it works. Up top on your account, you're going to see a couple of tabs. So you will see an insights option. So when we talk about reporting, you have the ability to come in and you can run a couple of reports. These reports are generated each day. So you can come in here daily and you can run reports on offline cameras. You can run on empty accounts, essentially any accounts that are still active, but they don't have a subscription. Customer overview. So this is going to let you know what customers have actually paid for. So if you're wondering what subscriptions everyone has, this report will tell you every customer in your account. It'll tell you every subscription. This is very nice for billing reconciliation. It allows you to kind of make sure you know exactly what you should be sending out on a monthly basis and make sure it lines up with whatever other billing program you may be using in your business. If you ever wonder what the most common subscription is, we'll show you the most frequently used. So that can help out with your marketing materials. It can help out with your sales pitches to determine what you believe customers are actually taking on a more regular basis. So you might be able to start with that pitch as kind of what you want to focus your efforts on. Added cameras and camera overview. This will let you know which cameras were added that day. The overview report tells you the date that every camera might be activated to a specific account. These are good just for housekeeping so that you know we may turn on a subscription and just so everyone is aware, when we turn on a subscription, the subscription goes active that day. We don't bill you for the first month on a prorated basis. We bill you the following month on the first for the next month. It doesn't matter if cameras are on that account or not. We bill once that month rolls. We count the subscription active the day that the subscription is created. So if you're selling cameras and the customer says they want to self-install, which may or may not happen, you can actually come in here and check and see, hey, did they add cameras? When did they add cameras? So you can make sure that they're kind of not feeling like they're not getting their money's worth if the cameras aren't put up yet. In terms of the partner account, you can come in here and you can create additional sub-users in your organization. You would do that by creating roles or operators. Roles are going to be essentially admin, or you can create a new role. So for instance, if I wanted support to have their own role, we'll create that. We can then edit the permissions and you can choose what you want them to be able to see. So if you only want your support to be able to turn on support desk and you want them to be able to say, view this, or maybe change customers' passwords, you can click those, hit save. And now when I come and I create a new operator, I would choose which role I want them to be, whether they're going to be full admin or the support role. So it's just a way to limit permissions and allow you not to have to share your own credential for managing your partner account. Outside of that, that's the dashboard. So it hopefully will give everybody a useful tool to help manage their cloud growth, to be able to just give that visibility and transparency to you that you guys have been asking for. So the next thing we're going to cover today is the Cloud VS web application. So today there are two ways that you would traditionally get access to see your cameras if you're a customer. One is through the mobile application. The second is through our desktop client, which is available for both Mac OS X as well as Windows. We've been asked, and we believe that the future is probably going to be more browser-based. Getting something in a browser these days is pretty difficult because browsers constantly change the rules depending upon security, updates to what they want to do, different decoding and streaming technologies that they want to allow to be native in an app. So it's taken a while to get this kind of working the way that we are ready to launch it, and we're finally there. So it's pretty exciting. The web application is just a website. So it's cloudvslogin.alibisecurity.com. When you go to that browser, in any browser, it's going to take you to a login page. The benefit for this, it works in all browsers without a plugin. So that's a pretty big leap forward. Most of the time when you want to do advanced features, especially with some of our embedded solutions, using a plugin is the most efficient way for us to make sure that everything works. With this system, it's designed from the ground up to work purely in the browser with no plugins. So it works with IE, it works with Chrome, it works with Firefox, Safari, Edge, whatever the customer wants to use, we will work with it. I will tell you that certain browsers definitely work a little faster than others due to the streaming protocols that are built in. Currently, Safari works extremely well and quick. Chrome also works extremely well. Chrome is doing an update come January that actually will enhance the streaming capability for live video, which will probably be the browser we recommend you use at that point until other ones also follow suit. And what this does is it contains pretty much most of the features that you will see in the desktop client application. It doesn't contain them all, but we're getting there. So some key features for what the web app is going to allow you to do. We can live view from 1 camera to 4 cameras up to 9 concurrent streams. The way that differs from the desktop client today can offer up to 25 concurrent streams. The reason there's a limit, it's a lot of video to pass. The desktop client has its own decoding library and the browsers do not. So currently 9 is the most that we've been able to get to stably work. So that's kind of where we're at today. You'll be able to do playback and export a video via timeline or events. We added a time date stamp feature into the browser as well for exported video. That was heavily requested. It was able to be done in the browser the fastest, so that's where it's added today. You can filter your footage by event type. The other thing that we were able to do is create a sharing feature in the browser where you can share links to send to other users on your account. So if you're reviewing something that took place and it's something that you believe is really important and you want another user to look at it without having to export, export a clip, you can click the sharing button. It'll create a link. You can send that to that other user's email that has access to the system. And when they open that link, it's going to take them right to the timeline on the footage menu so they can see exactly what you're talking about. It's great whenever you're looking at multi-person review. Especially when you're looking at maybe organizations that have spread out loss prevention managers, and they may need to send it up the chain without having to worry about sending big video files. You can also create new zones the same way you would in the desktop client. We can add cameras, and you can control most of the settings for the cameras from the web application. Adding cameras in the browser is a little different. This actually opens up a new feature that we've just released as well, which is we can add cameras to an account via their MAC address. The reason we have to add via MAC address in the browser is browsers don't contain any type of native device discovery. So whenever you're using the mobile app or you're using the desktop client, we can reach out via device discovery rules and we can find cameras on the same local area network as that device, but browsers don't give us that luxury. So we added a feature to be able to type in the MAC address manually, and then you can add the camera. The other benefit for this is you no longer have to be on the same local area network to get cameras added. Once the cameras are plugged in, you could have someone at another location log into the account and they can manually type in the list of MAC addresses and add those cameras from off-site. That is something that we have not been able to do before, and so this opens that capability up. You can also, so the 2 features that are not in the desktop client today, or I'm sorry, in the web app, scheduling and user permissions, they still require a desktop client to control. We will be adding those in over the next 2 to 3 months. Scheduling will probably happen sometime by the end of November. User permissions, hopefully around January. Once that's done, then essentially the web app does everything the desktop client does other than the auto device discovery, as well as the live viewing streaming. What customers can do though is they can change their own passwords and they can enable support access from the web app. So if they want to change their credential, they're already logged in, they can do that on their own. There's no limitation there.
So Keith, while you're firing that up, I have a dumb marketing guy question. So
yeah.
Some of our dealer partners may have customers that want to kind of mass upload users, right? So they've got 10, 50, 100 users that they potentially want to get into the system. Is that something that we're working on from a roadmap perspective to make it easier for them to kind of mass upload users?
It has been requested. We are still evaluating how we could do that.
Yeah.
to make sure that it uploads correctly into the database. But yeah, we're definitely looking at it, but today it's still a one-to-one entry level for that. We're doing a lot with user permissions. We're trying to create some user roles so that you can easily add and just click kind of the role you want, and that will automatically kind of downstream certain permissions for those people.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Today, it's very granular. So once you create a user, you have to be able to select what features you want them to do, what cameras you want them to be able to see. We automatically turn on the schedule for access for 24/7, but right now it's still very one-to-one.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks.
So once you get to the web page, here's your login page. So this is a demo account. We'll log in here. And what you'll see here is something very similar to what you would see in our desktop client. So a list of all of your zones and cameras is going to populate right here in the front page. If I had multiples, they would be tabbed out below. You'll see an online, offline status. So you have a quick health glance. You can add additional zones from here, add your camera. There's some hot buttons to go to live view or playback or the settings. Other options here up top, you've got your live view footage, and then you've got your event menu, as well as your account access or an app switcher, which will take you between this app and then your account itself. So when you click on live view, you'll see cameras. You'll see over here, click a camera to start viewing. We do a drag and drop logic as well. So once we connect, you'll be able to actually click between a 4-camera, 9-camera view. You'll see time date stamp on the top, as well as some other kind of options here once you hover over it for footage, taking it full screen, taking snapshots, or going to the settings directly there. If I wanted to move this, I can drag that around to whatever view I want. But it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The one thing you will notice if you are looking at this web client compared to, say, the desktop client, and you happen to be in the view of the camera, there is a small, probably 3 to 4 second delay between live activity happening and then the web browser happening today. The reason for that is we're using a decoding process called HLS, which inherently is a little bit more latent, but that is just it's currently the best method using HTML5 to get video delivered. Inherently, it's just a little bit delayed. What we run into in browsers most commonly, and we get asked why browsers are so difficult, is no one really has a native decoding library built in for video that is universal. HTML5 is universal to browsers, but how you use it to display video can be done multiple ways. So that is the update that we're waiting on, is browsers are starting to realize that they need better live video applications versus just on-demand video applications such as like Netflix or things like that are streaming off of a server. So as browsers progress, we'll progress with it, and the video latency will get a lot better. When you go to look at video, we can do this a couple of ways. We have the general footage menu as your playback menu. You'll see the timeline on the bottom. We will do object tagging or motion event tagging. You have the same way to filter between object, person, or just general video motion. Click on the date to choose the date you want to look at. Choose your time period. You can shrink in and out on the time zones here. You can then also choose to share footage, export footage, play the footage back if I can get back to an event. So for instance, we mentioned the sharing. So if something was trying to break in the door and I'm like, hey, I need someone to look at this, click the share button. There's your link. You can send this email directly out to somebody. We will warn you, you need to have access to this user. The user needs to have access to be able to see the link. It will take them to a login screen at the very first time that they click on the link. So they do have to be a user of the system to be able to see that. Exporting video can be done. Currently, you can choose to include the time date stamp or choose to exclude it. You can also do a 24-hour summary of all the events that took place. Basically choose your time frame and slide and drag it over. Currently, there's a 30-minute kind of maximum for each video clip. We're about to unlock that if you don't want the time date. So if you uncheck this slider will be able to go farther. That's going to be in the next release in a couple of weeks. It was requested that we extend that time frame. The reason there's a 30-minute time frame is whenever we want to add the time date, we actually have to do a transcoding process. So it's very time consuming and CPU heavy. So we'll open that up again as we progress, development on the browser. If you wanted to look purely by events, click on the event menu. We'll show you thumbnails. You can then hover over to highlight it up. If you want to get to that event, click this. This will open an additional tab on your browser, take you right to that event on the playback menu, and you can see it right then and there. You can then also look at the events, and you can choose which ones you want to filter through. In terms of the settings, once you get into the settings, you'll notice they're pretty much identical to what you would see on the desktop client. So we'll give you all the same options for camera information, recording options, detections. You can even set up your detection areas here. The other thing that we can do, when you get to schedule and notifications, this is where you're going to see this message here. It'll let you know it's not available yet. Download the desktop app. The thing that we did do to make this easy is if you click on this link, we're going to auto detect your operating system, and we will download the installer for either Mac or Windows to run that. The only time you would need to really get in there to do scheduling is if you wanted to turn push alerts on or off at a certain time. It's still very valid to use a desktop client. But again, hopefully we'll get to the point in the very near future where you can make it completely web-based if need be. Network settings are done here, and then your video and sound settings the same way you would in the desktop client as well. So we tried to make it as uniform as possible. That way, as people migrate into it, there's not a huge learning curve, and you get all the same benefits that you did from past software. To get to the account, you click on My Account. We'll take you into a new page. And this is really for the customer. They can change their first name, last name, company name, email address, and then change their current password if they want to on their own. The other thing you'll see on the left here is you'll see a tab for support. So if you did want to use that backdoor support, they have the option to do that in the mobile app for you, or they can click the allow support access in the browser here as well. We'll even tell you kind of what it is, so the customer doesn't kind of get surprised whenever you ask them to do that. But all in all, that's the web application. It's pretty straightforward. It's launched today, so anybody that already has an account can start using this today. We'll publish the URL on the website. It'll be in updated in most of the marketing materials coming out here in the near future. And hope everybody likes it and gets to use it.
Yeah, that's a great overview, Keith. You know, when I think about the pieces of the solution that you just rolled through, right? You know, I just see you delivering heavily on dealer feedback, right? Dealers have requested more insight into their accounts. They want to be able to view all those accounts in one place. They want, you know, some, you know, health monitoring, for lack of a better term. It's a minor, you know, camera health monitoring, since we don't have recorders or hard drives. That dealer dashboard does a really good job of kind of giving you a view on a customer by customer basis. And then, you know, some of those analytics and reporting can be really quite insightful, to your point. If the, you know, our dealer partners find out they're selling 7 or 14-day subscriptions over any others, that could be kind of the sweet spot that they always lead with, right? Because they know that's what the consumer demand is. So you're giving our dealers access, really simple, easy to use interface is really, really powerful for those guys and gals. And then, you know, when we talk about the web application, that's my primary go-to now. Whenever I'm looking at my cameras, whenever I'm helping some of our customers kind of troubleshoot their cameras, the web app's been super seamless. It looks and feels just like the desktop client application, with the exception of a couple of those few functions. But it's been really good, at least from my perspective, to give people that option to log in via browser versus having to fire up software, right? Some people just struggle with software. They don't want to install anything new on their computer. They'd rather just go to a web page and log in that way. So it's been a really, really good addition to the Alibi Cloud VS portfolio. Right now, we don't have any open questions. I think you did a bang up job kind of covering those 2 new portals that we have. So, you know, what I would say to the folks who attend today is, number 1, thank you again for spending some time with us. Number 2, if you're selling cloud right now and you want to learn more about either the dealer dashboard or the web app, contact your dedicated account manager and ask for a live demo. We've got an Alibi Cloud VS specialist. That's all he does, is give demos, and he'll be glad to walk you through either or both of these new pieces of the solution. Get comfortable with cloud. If you're not selling cloud right now, Cloud is the future of video surveillance. Make sure that you get a demo on the system, you ask the right questions, you get comfortable with how you pitch this to customers, because off-premise video surveillance is really, really powerful, and it's continuing to grow for us as a business. So thanks, Keith, for spending the time going a little bit deeper into each of those pieces of the solution. And we will look forward to seeing everybody on our next live webinar series. We appreciate the time today. Thanks, Keith.